Ethnicity, according to scholars, is a complex social construct that influences personal identity and group social relations. In US, racial stratification uniquely shapes expressions of and understanding about ethnicity. On Let's Talk today, we will be looking at or basically discussing ethnicity, a societal mirage. My guest is Mr. Ayobamigbe Faloye, a public analyst. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Olujoke Mosako. Thank you for always watching Let's Talk, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Until then, please enjoy this ride with us. Thank you so much, Mr. Faloye, for coming on the show. It's nice having you.
Yeah, it's a big pleasure to be with you.
Okay. Now, explain ethnicity and Mirage independently.
Is more of an identifiable, either cultural, either behavioral, either physical characteristics that are attributed to a certain population. So when you have an identifiable characteristics in a population, that may warrant that they are called an ethnic group because they have similar characteristics, either cultural, either economic, either behavioral, whatever characteristics there. But in most cases, of course, we look at ethnicity from the perspective of language, traditions, dressing, and some physical appearances. When you have to talk about birthmarks and some other things that symbolizes the identity of a group of people or a population. The other side of the word play on the other side is Mirage. We have characterized Mirage as a pseudo or a pseudo definition that people attribute to a certain term or to a certain issue. So in the case of ethnicity, is that ethnicity has been taken to, apart from just being an identification of people of a population, it's also been taken to some other extent, and it has influenced a lot of other decisions on the other side.
All right. With your definition of what ethnicity and Mirage is, what then is the concept and dimensions of ethnicity?
Yeah, concept and dimension of ethnicity. I'm not going to speak it according to the books, but of course, what I can relate it to, because so the concept of ethnicity is basically more of identification and more of people that have similar characteristics. It has to do with tradition, has to do with the way of life, has to do with the way they do businesses and all of that. That is more of the concept around ethnicity, majorly for some form of identification to a people of a population. Of course, the mirage around it is okay. Let me not go into that now. But basically, the concept of ethnicity is more of identifying a people of similar characteristics in terms of cultural practices, way of life, tradition, and all of that. That
So
is what
those also serve as the dimensions.
What is it?
what you from your explanation, I'm only asking further that does this serve
Okay.
as the dimensions of ethnicity?
Dimensions of ethnicity. Well, the dimensions will come under the characteristics that you have identified with in a population. So, and that's why I'm saying that ethnicity could it relates around features. So, if you're talking about features, the traditional features of a people, that's one side of it. They're talking about the cultural features of a people or cultural traits of the people, values, beliefs, religion, food and habits, customs. It's a part of it. Um, Historical correlations in a people. You have this set of people that have the same historical uh, uh, perspective. Uh, of course, that is another dimension. So for me, I can't really put the because I know that that's what you want me to do to put them in some certain terms.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, why is
Yeah.
ethnicity a societal mirage in terms of challenges and all?
Yes. Ethnicity could be um, could be a mirage in the sense that there's no rigid conceptualization of ethnicity, so to say. What am I trying to drive at? You know, it is for the concept of ethnicity now, it depends on your perspective as an individual. It depends on what you want to look at. Are you looking at tradition? Are you looking at cultural traits? Are you looking at customs? Are you looking at so from this perspective, we are going to see, excuse me, we are going to see a lot of different perspectives. So I can't be talking about a certain population and I'll talk about their ethnicity from different perspectives. I can be talking about them from their part of historical lineage, and another person is also talking about them from the perspective of their customs and tradition. And somebody else is talking about the correlation or similarities in their languages. So um, it is often so it is concluded that in most cases, because of his non-rigidity, there's a lot of um, illusion that people brew up around ethnicity. For example, um, when you're looking at historical facts about a certain people, you can have about three dimensions of historical documentations because of the influence of transmission of uh, the history. So one person says this is how the history was. I mean, we've heard for the Yoruba people, we've heard people say that we migrated from the Arab Emirates down to Africa. Some people said no, the Yorubas emanated from Egypt, which is like the middle, uh, uh, the midpoint between this thing. So for me, so it's from this perspective that some people have said, okay, this is really not something we can rely on. It's just your own thinking. It's just your own um, ideology. It's just your own concept. So often times we get it being classified as if it's somebody's illusion because eventually everybody we also have a story that says scientific story of the um, uh, scientific history of man itself from the Homo habilis to Homo erectus and all of that, the evolution of man. So some people believe that really, indeed, there is really no difference between everybody, that we are just one, that all of this concept of where we are speaking one language, a set of people are speaking one language, a set of people are speaking another language, is some form of illusion that has come to stay. So that is what I understand by the mirage around ethnicity.
Okay. So, in other words, those are the challenges too.
Yes, yes. Trying to, of course, trying to bridge the evolutionary story of man and what we have now is, of course, in the world now, I'm sure that we have about thousands of ethnic groups. But again, science tells us that there's a pattern of how man evolved. So you begin to ask, where now did all of the um, differences come to be? So to some people, it's just um, it's just some level of illusion that, and that's why you see that in the definition of ethnicity, it wasn't rigid. It was defined as the identifiable characteristics, similar characteristics that anybody can identify in a population. So people can be of the same ethnic group from the fact that they speak the same language, from the fact that they have the same tribal mark, and a lot of all of these things can be highlighted as it. So that is where I feel that the concept of it being an illusion is coming from.
Thank you so much for that. Now, let's quickly go on this break. We will be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk on DNT Work, and I've been speaking with Mr. Ayobamigbe Faloye. He is a public analyst, and he's been doing justice to the topic ethnicity, a societal mirage. So basically, if you're just joining us, it is important that you continue with us and then go back to sit from the beginning. Thank you once again for standing by, Mr. Faloye.
Pleasure.
Now, how does it affect people's personality and psychology?
And now, how does ethnicity, if I've grown all my life around a people, we speak the same language together, we definitely do practice the same tradition. Um, it's going to shape a lot about, because if you look at it, ethnicity from the perspective of the environment where you belong or the population you belong to, you definitely have the chances of picking up the mentality of the people around. They often say when you get to Rome, you behave like a Roman. That is an example of when you relate with some people who do their things in a special way, in a specific way. You are of course bound to also think like them, act like them, and of course have the way of life like them. And that of course shapes up your psychology and your thinking, and of course shape who you are as a person. So I think this is where the connectivity is about ethnicity, you know, uh, building yourself around the um, identified practices of the people of your ethnic group, which is, of course, understandable. That is on the physical perspective. Genetically as well, if some manifestations of genetics is predominant amongst a certain people of a population who have similar characteristics, that is also bound to influence a lot of genetic makeup of an individual. So with these two sides of the issue, you are bound to have an individual shaped up by the practices around the person.
Workplace experience, as in your job, acceptance, how you've been accepted, and favoritism. Why I asked this question is over time,
Okay.
we know
Yeah.
that, especially even when you're going into school, let's use Nigeria as a case study, you know that there
Yeah.
is this issue of geopolitical zone. So if you're from this part of the country, you have 100% of gaining admission into the university that is situated in that zone. And then let's say you're going to get a job because, well, for some people, if you feel this person is from where I come from, this person is my skin color, my skin tone, let me favor this person. And, all of those things put together.
I want to ask this example, are we looking at a Nigerian setting, or
No,
because we need to
generally in the
understand it?
world, I just use that as a case study. Just
But generally in the world, ethnicity doesn't really come to bear. I mean, um, in most refined cases, I mean, in competitive places, you are looking at capacity, capability, you are looking at um, capacity, capability, you're looking at merit. So ethnicity really doesn't have a place. But of course, there are places where people are not detribalized, and they often use ethnicity to perpetuate a lot of uh, non-merit procedures. So, and of course, that happens more in places like Nigeria, for example, where people employ people from a certain ethnic group because the owner of the place is from the same ethnic group. Uh, where there is an existential distrust among the ethnic groups. And of course, one ethnic group is cautious of working with the other ethnic groups. Of course, this is when you begin to now say that people of different ethnic groups have different work experiences, and how they are treated at the work, and how, of course, they are favored at the work. So this is when we can't say that. But in ideal settings, what we see is more of procedures that really place down the effect of um, ethnicity. And so all of this favoritism, differentials in experiences, and their workplace acceptance is not going to be different across the different ethnic groups. But I do understand that there are cases where, of course, ethnicity plays a lot. A typical example is our country. And we have said that for you to get, in fact, in Nigeria, we even have institutionalized um, ethnic quotients, that helps. For example, universities in certain places in the country have admission quota for some other places. We also have companies who have been institutionalized to employ a certain percentage of indigens of where their factories are established. So we see all of this play out a lot of times in Nigeria. But of course, but in the global space, I don't really think ethnicity has really been played out in the open. Yes, in the West, of course, there's some form of racial classification or classism that happens, but I don't. It's you know it's not as played open as in our case here. But of course, I agree that some Western places, color of skin and all of that, which falls under the purview of ethnicity, could also be an issue where you get admitted to a school because you're black in a certain place or because you're white in a certain place. That also plays out.
Thank you so much
But
for that
yeah,
explanation. Now, as we
okay.
round up, do you have a final word?
Well, basically, we we should just allow ethnicity to be ethnicity and not really allow it to meddle into some of our practices. What do I mean? I mean, if somebody must be employed at a place, yeah, you don't really need to employ such persons based on their ethnicity. Rather, want to work with competence, capability, capacity, merit, rather than the color or the historical background of the person or the social demographics of the person, whichever way. So by that, we will have left ethnicity to just be a form of identification rather than it being a criteria for gaining some benefits or for discrepancies in treatments and rather not using it to bet favoritism and some other non uh, credible avenues. So basically, let ethnicity exist as ethnicity, and of course, be defined by you know the point that it's just basically for some level of identification, nothing more, nothing less.
Thank you so much for your time. It's indeed a
Yeah.
great experience with you. Once again, thank you.
Yes, it
All right.
feels same here, even though the time was short, and we're able to put up one or two things. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you too. And thank you too out there for watching this show, staying with us till the end. And if you're going to what you're watching it as a result of a playback, I hope you indeed learned one or two things. And as we continue in this beautiful world that we are in, let's ensure, like you said, to accommodate one another and let us get our jobs, employment, whatever it is that we're looking for on the basis of merit as it should be. Until next time, when I come your way again with another exciting edition of Let's Talk, enjoy your day. Bye for now.